My friends, got something going on in the state of Pennsylvania here that's just getting to me. It's just eating at me, and I got to rant about it. It's about the fact that we still do not have a state budget. Several weeks now. Well, earlier in the month, local newspaper decided to do an article about how the state workers were forced into sacrifices because they haven't been getting paid. Well, I don't know if the article was intended to get people to feel sympathetic about the state workers or not, but you definitely will not get any sympathy from me. Instead of doing articles on how the unemployed people in this area are suffering, how unemployment's close to 10%, and you have all these people out of work trying to get by for weeks and weeks or months. But no, they don't do articles about that. I mean, I think the article they did was basically an insult to the rest of us out there. It goes on saying how the time the article was written, there was 36 days without a budget. State workers haven't had a paycheck since July 17th, and how they had to file for food stamps and just started receiving them. You ever apply for help from the state, especially in Pennsylvania? Usually takes about 30 days for your application just to get processed, and then you receive your EBT card in the mail. Food stamps only get deposited on the second or third of the month, so you get the back benefits when it gets approved for the weeks you were waiting for them. So on the 2nd of August, they basically received benefits for the big 2 weeks that they didn't have paychecks for the month. What I want to know is, why did the state workers get their benefits faster than the rest of any other applicant out there? I, as I said before, it takes about 2 weeks just to get the application, get assigned to a caseworker, and that. The whole process takes roughly about 30 days before you get an approval or denial. So these state workers basically receive their benefits a lot faster than any other applicant in the state does. So those people who've ever needed state assistance before to assume that just because these individuals are state workers, their applications were allowed to get processed faster while other PA residents get pushed aside. Now, I know the state's not going to admit wrongdoing in that, or that they actually did that or not, but you decide. I mean, article is trying to make you feel sad about their situation. All I gotta say is, wah, wah. The article says they didn't have pay since July 17th. Well, big friggin' deal. What's the big deal? About 60% of the workforce in Northeast PA, and probably in most of the state, gets paid every 2 weeks. So, to the rest of the working Pennsylvanians, it's normal to go 2 weeks without pay. And if you work for financial companies such as Bank of America, say, you only get paid twice a month, on the 1st and the 15th. So when there's a 5-week month, you wait 3 weeks at the end of the month before you get your next paycheck. My friends, it's all called learning not to live beyond your means and budget yourself accordingly. And we go through this all the time, even with the teachers out there. Learn to live on what you're making. Now, this whole process, it's not an overnight shock to them. As state workers, they know the procedure that every year the state has to get the budget approved, and that there is a chance that they will not get paid on the time. They've been through it before. It's happened before. I'm sure that the state unions must know enough to inform the workers that this could happen. They should have the intelligence to plan for this possibility every year, and they don't. Another thing, they're crying, woohoo! I had to sell stuff to survive and pay my mortgage and that. Give me a break. Were they that much in debt that they did not have a single dollar to their name? That all the money that they made on August 17th, was spent on the 18th, and they were suddenly dirt poor? What about all those people that apply for unemployment? When you file for unemployment in this state, you have to wait until a confirmation letter goes out to your former employer. They have 10 business days to respond. There's no response. Another letter goes out, and then they have 10 more business days. You don't get benefits until a determination is made. And even then, There's a 1 week waiting period, which you don't get paid any benefits for. So you wait about a month before you receive anything at all. I don't see articles drawing attention to those people at all on how the state pays such a small percentage of what you actually earn. You only make like 40% of what you used to. But yet we see articles on how state workers had to wait, what was it, a big 17 days actually, before they got their paycheck? Big deal. They still got their paychecks. It was just a couple days late. Maybe if the state didn't overpay their workers to begin with in some of the departments, we wouldn't have the severe budget problems that we're going through in Pennsylvania. That's going to wind up costing us more in taxes again and laying off hundreds of state workers, which they've already announced is going to happen. There's a heck of a lot more people out there who are truly suffering because they got laid off from an $8 to a $10 an hour job for several weeks or months than there are state workers. Like people that they're whining about, ooh, we went 2 weeks without our paycheck. Another thing I want to know is, how the hell these people get approved for food stamps for the big 2 weeks that they didn't have income? Even if it was granted 4 weeks instead of 2 without money. Food stamps in the state are based on the incomes you receive for the 4 weeks prior to the time that you applied. So tell me how people making over $30,000 a year, applying for food stamps, go back 4 weeks over the income, of which they would have had 2 weeks of pay prior, still qualified for benefits. As far as I knew, it was based on the income that you were receiving. And if you have to wait to see if you qualify or not. They have to take all the income in the household. The article was entitled "A Little Too Late." Personally, I'd say too little of a wait. Let these state workers, some of whom actually determine if the rest of us out there get benefits, actually wait for benefits like the rest of us. They're out of work, trying to keep the bank from taking their house and car. Then they can have my sympathy. Another thing with this whole budget mess is our wonderful governor ruining the state. And why? Because there's going to be an election year coming up and he can't run again. So he doesn't care. Bury the state, basically. All this money they've been taking in all these years. Pennsylvania, until recently, we had, I believe, the second or third highest gas tax in the United States. 38 cents a gallon. It's outrageous. And that money was supposed to go to fund the highways. You ever driven through Pennsylvania? The highways are disgusting. And now the federal government's breathing down the state's back because our bridges are falling apart. Everything's been neglected for years and years, even before this governor. So what I want to know is, what the hell's been happening to all this money that we've been paying for gasoline taxes and tolls? Where's the money going? The money's supposed to go to PennDOT to fix the roads. They're saying they have no money, so where the hell did the money go? It's happening with tons of projects out there, tons of programs out there. He wants to raise the state income tax now because of the whole budget mess. Where's that money going to go to? Next year, you're going to raise taxes now. Next year, they're still going to say, can't balance the budget, we're in the red. Where does all the money go? If you're constantly cutting back funding for programs, neglecting our roads and bridges, where'd the money go? And now, the paper's been reporting that they're cutting out money towards education. It's worse enough that, there's a lack of federal money. Now there's a lack of state money. State's not going to be supplying money to pre-kindergarten programs. Now, things like Head Start, the only thing that's saving them is the federal money that they get. But there's other programs out there that are funded by the state. And they said there was thousands. I want to say it was like 16,000 kids that are in these preschool programs won't be able to go to school. These programs won't exist because there's no funding. I think enough is enough already. This governor should have been taken out of office a long time ago. Only a moron would have re-voted for him last time when he ran. Hopefully, when the next election comes around, we can get someone that could try straightening out this mess so it's not going to cost us a fortune. Because the way they're predicting it now, our taxes are going to keep going up for the next several years. So basically, folks, don't come to Pennsylvania. And that, my friends, is all I have to say about that.